All right. Boom. We are live. I think we're going to call this episode 84. I guess we'll see if that turns out to be true or not in the wash that comes about after this. And if it is, we will call this episode 84 of the Athletic Philosopher Podcast. This is your host, your humble host, Jordan Goldstein. I'm a former university professor in sport history, philosophy, sociology, psychology, what we used to call broadly the sport humanities. Lots of complications arose at my time in the university, complications that led me outside of it to now profess outside of the walls of the ivory tower and deep into the world of life and fitness coaching. I'm not going to get into a big spiel as to what I do because I think through the conversation that mostly will be revealed, because today I am talking to one of my favorite fitness coaches out there, one of my favorite people out there to just talk about fitness, but also just one of the best people that I know, Mr. Ronald Potts. And we are going to be hitting back and forth in a kind of an intellectual volley with each other over a couple of pages from a book that I've been reading that has very little to do with physical activity explicitly, but I think, as Ronald and I will exhibit, has quite a lot to say about it implicitly and philosophically. So if at any point in this conversation you are interested in getting to know a little bit more about what I do as a coach or what Ronald does as a coach in the fitness and life coaching space, all that information will be in the show notes if indeed this does turn into a podcast, which we are not sure. At the very least, it's going to be an amazing conversation that is going to hopefully produce more questions than answers, which means that it will be a fruitful philosophical discussion. So without further ado, thank you, Ronald, for your time and your presence and your intention and your wisdom today. How's it going for you?
Oh, pretty good. A lot of birds out here in the park. That's what that background is. But
we love that.
Yep, I'm joining you from my day office here in my ride.
This is my day office in my basement, so we are in the same boat here. I think what I'll do is I'll just introduce a little bit of the text that we're going to talk about today, and I'll maybe read out. I'm not going to read out the whole thing, but I think I'll read out what I think are the salient parts. And if I miss something, just go back and school me on that. And then I'll throw it to you. This was originally supposed to be a three-way discussion. The third, unfortunately, had some family things that needed taken care of, which is the right call. And Ronald and I are just going to bat around these ideas. So first off, these are two page excerpts from the book Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by Robert Pirsig. And I really enjoyed this book for a bunch of different reasons. Number one, because it is a really intriguing exploration into the divisions and connections between the objective and the subjective in the most general sense possible, and how there is potentially a third way to bridge that gap, which is not exactly what we're going to be talking about today. But in the most general sense, the book is about, the facts and the feeling, and how a lot of people are on one side and a lot of people are on the other. And this is kind of what I was talking about in episode 83 with the harmony between the facts and the feel when it comes to fitness. But I was at the point in the book where things were really starting to pop in terms of the way I think about fitness. I know the way Ronald thinks about fitness, and what Pirsig is trying to describe to us here in the book. So let me just quickly do a little bit of a read here, throw it to Ronald, because he mentioned that he's definitely developed some ideas. So I want his ideas first, and then we'll go around the horn on this one. And if we've got some Substack Live people, feel free to ask questions or put your observations into the live chat. We're also live on Substack, so make sure you participate if you would like. Okay. So Pirsig is talking about what do you do when you're working on a machine? And he's talking obviously about motorcycle maintenance. And, there's some people that really love to tinker. They really like to know how the machine works. They want to be able to get inside the machine. I think Ronald is certainly one of these kinds of people. He's a carpenter by trade. And just knows his way around machines. I'm the opposite. I'm the person that looks at the instruction manual and decides to go outside for a run instead of put the thing together. And he's trying to bridge these two people together. And he makes this interesting observation as to like the person who gets frustrated with the instructions. And he's talking about when you're putting together a machine, quote, peace of mind isn't all superficial, really. It's the whole thing. That which produces it is good maintenance. That which disturbs it is poor maintenance. What we call workability of the machine is just an objectification of this peace of mind. The ultimate test always your own serenity. If you don't have this when you start and maintain it while you're working, you're likely to build your personal problems right into the machine itself. I'll put the text here somewhere. Maybe while Ronald's speaking, I'll put the actual pictures in the chat here. And then he keeps on going. It's an unconventional concept. The material object of observation, the bicycle can't be right or wrong. So he's talking about what happens. What do you do when you're putting together a bicycle from scratch and you have instructions? The bicycle can't be right or wrong. Molecules are molecules. They don't have any ethical codes to follow except those that people give them. The test of the machine is the satisfaction it gives you. There isn't any other test. The test of the machine is always your own mind. There isn't any other test. So there's the first part, right? That really the object is not so much the object. It's like our mind that's the object whenever we're interacting with the object. And serenity or peace or harmony flows from us kind of merging ourselves in one way or another with the process of the machine. And he says in the next page, this is how we can kind of conceptualize it and start to bring somebody like me who doesn't want to put together a machine with somebody like Ron, who's like, I really want to put together that machine. With this idea of the craftsman. And this to me is like the real fruit of how we can think about this, because I like to think about athletes as artists, or as this will kind of intimate, artists and craftsmen might actually be the same person or the same type of person. So sometimes, quote, sometime look at a novice workman or a bad workman and compare his expression with that of a craftsman whose work you know is excellent, and you'll see the difference. The craftsman isn't ever following a single line of instruction. He's making decisions as he goes along. For that reason, he'll be absorbed and attentive to what he's doing, even though he doesn't deliberately contrive this. His motions in the machine are in a kind of harmony. He isn't following any set of written instructions because the nature of the material at hand determines his thoughts and motions, which simultaneously change the nature of the material at hand. The material and his thoughts are changing together in a progression of changes until his mind's at rest at the same time the material's right. And then he's talking about this with an art instructor. And the art instructor says, sounds like art. And which Pirsig replies, yes, that's right. So those are the two pieces of text that I wanted to jam over in a fitness context. And rather than me continue to talk, I'm going to throw it to Ronald so that he can take this discussion in whichever direction he wants. And then we're just gonna circle back on these ideas that Pirsig has presented us with some of our own philosophies and examples that we've seen both as people in training for competition, but also people who coach others in fitness and we'll just say generally in sort of like life direction.
Well, I really like what Pirsig is talking about there overall. I think he's really hitting on to something. And it kind of reminds me of, I may get this not technically right, but it reminds me of the idea of qualia, right? And you're also more of a phenomenologist than an epistemologist. And I lean that way myself. Certainly, at least in that your experience is meaningful. We can't dismiss our own experience of reality. It is our experience of reality. But there's also been for many years now kind of this anti-experience idea that your facts over feelings type of thing, which kind of misses the boat too. And I think this sort of gets into what Pirsig is talking about. You have one or the other thinking usually. It's either all experience, my lived experience, or no, it's all facts over feeling. And there's an interaction. And what I like about what Pirsig did with the example there, and particularly I like that he used craftsman because I'm a bit of a craftsman myself. Um, what I think he did really good there is whether you're assembling a bike or you're building a cabinet by hand, it's not just you acting on the material. The material is also acting on you. So it's a relationship. And I think that's important. I think I think fundamentally you're in a relationship with the thing that you're working on. And I like that he points out, the bike can't be right or wrong. It's just a bike. The But also I like how he brought in that if you're anxious and you bring that in, then you're essentially polluting the experience, which is something I can definitely uh, understand as someone who's still kind of starting in coaching and in content creation. Whenever I act out of an anxiousness, it pollutes my work, whether it's coaching or whether it's writing or whether it's carpentry. When on days that I just don't have it, the more frustrated I get, the worse it gets.
Mm.
And with carpentry, there's just those days where you just don't have it. And there are some days that you're the best carpenter on the planet. And so I think I like how he pointed out that what you bring into it matters, and and that it's relationship, which he ties to quality. And I think it's your relationship with the work that creates the quality, such as the craftsman. I guess that's my initial thought.
Yeah,
I think that's what I like that he's doing.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. How do we translate that into a fitness context, or how does that description of, I think, the peace of mind coming into the process, or the lack of peace of mind coming into the process, determining the quality of the experience, no matter what the experience is, and then this idea of the craftsman gaining meaning of the craft through the dual interaction of the craftsman onto the material or the craft, and then the craft moving back towards the craft. How can we start to think about that in a fitness or physical activity or exercise or competing context?
Well, I guess that kind of, in order to get to that, I've got to also add, and I haven't read the book. I've just seen the excerpts that you
yeah
shared.
Ron's coming in blind here. It's not really fair, but he's a worthy competitor no matter what. And
but I have read in the 2 pages you gave me over this, and that's what I like that Pirsig is doing. He's not flattening it out to just objective or subjective. He's allowing the interaction because I think that's important. I think that's life. I think our life must be an interaction between the objective and the subjective. And that very much so applies to fitness. But the criticism I have of Pirsig, at least in these 2 pages, is I think that he actually smuggles in something in his example of the craftsman, particularly. Because the craftsman didn't just get to that point of serenity while doing the work because he came in without it. He got there because he's been trained through experience with reality and experience with failure by someone who trained him first. So he subjected himself first to an objective, I guess, because it's external. He subjected himself, submitted himself to something external first, which we could just call truth.
Yep.
And so, from what you shared, anyways, I don't know if he goes on to explain that. I think that's where he kind of didn't earn his way into this point.
Mm. Yes, I mean that's it. These are contextual little snippets here.
Yeah.
So certainly in the book, he's developing the whole thrust of the book is effectively like how do we recreate a harmony from like basic first principles between objective and subjective, because at their root they are combined, but we experience them as separate branches effectively.
Hmm.
Something loosely like that. And to foreshadow his solution, it's actually quality is actually the thing.
Hmm.
And because I just got to the end of part 2 in the book, which is where he starts to introduce this idea of quality, and then part 3 and part 4 is him describing what quality is. And it's kind of like a pre-knowing effectively.
Yeah.
It's like an intuition. It's a pre-knowing. It's an aim. It's an understanding and an implicit understanding of what's good and bad, which is an interesting idea. That's not exactly what we want to be talking about. When I think about the 2 different pages here, it's like my intention and my posture or perspective is as important, if not more important, than my ability in the thing itself. Number 1. That's kind of like the first page.
Yeah.
And then the second page is the true enjoyment or the value of any activity is the creation of effectively novel, idiosyncratic, personalized, artistic expressions of how to do the thing well,
Hmm.
objectively and subjectively. And what immediately comes to me for fitness is the person, and I know that our coaching is kind of aimed a lot towards this person,
Hmm.
the person who struggles to get consistent at the beginning, right? And certainly there are people that I coach who don't necessarily have that issue anymore, and we progress along. But that is the type of person that I like to help quite a bit, because I find that this is a very confusing period for people in fitness. It seems like it's easy. It seems like it's straightforward. It's like, why don't we just go to the gym and keep going to the gym and just keep going to the gym? Like, what's the problem? What's the problem here?
Yeah.
Everybody knows that, but nobody does it, right? Or not enough people do it, even though they know they should be. So there's something else. And that first page, I think it's very important. And the best way to now, like, I think move into the conversation or move through the conversation is like, well, what is the machine, right?
Yeah.
He's talking about the machine. So how do we think about the machine in the context of fitness? And while I don't necessarily believe the body is just a machine, I think in terms of what we're actually like working on, it's the body, it's the mind, it's the spirit, but it's more like the operational elements of these things. And so most people, when they come into fitness and they haven't been consistent in fitness, or they don't have a history or experience, there is zero peace of mind. It's all anxiety.
Yeah.
It's all anxiety about, I don't like the way my body looks. I don't like the way my body moves. I don't like the way my body feels. I'm compared against other people. I'm compared
Hmm.
against difficult objective standards. I'm I'm forced into failure over and over and over again, and I don't know adequately how to deal with that. So initially, that's what I think about when I think about the first page when it comes to fitness. I recognize that people have to be comfortable in their own skin, and they have to feel empowered along a progression in order for any fitness program, no matter where you start or what your level is, to stick.
Yep.
I wonder how that resonates with you and how you approach it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with what you're saying there. Something that we both, I know, are in very much of agreement on is, and it's kind of what Pirsig is talking about, is your what I call orientation going into the act, right, of working out. What is your orientation? What are you oriented towards? And I think that's fundamentally important. And I actually had a bit of a conversation on Substack Notes about this last night. But if you're, what's your orientation? If it is just something like lose weight, look better in the mirror, that can work. But it's not sufficient for most people to become consistent. And so the orientation, it opens the door for you. Whatever your orientation is, the door you're going to open. If you want to do a hard workout because you want to do a hard workout, then it will open that door and you will have done a hard workout. That's what you get from it. If you want to do a hard workout to test your character or to build endurance or to strengthen your mind or your spirit, which you can do, then that's the door that you will open and you will get that from it. So what you're bringing in and what you're aiming towards is paramount.
Yeah.
And so as far as finding consistency, one of the things, in my opinion, that I think you and I both do well as coaches, that a lot of coaches seem to miss is entering in as a beginner. You need to have space to explore and fail. And the purpose of the coach is to guide you through that without giving you the out of permission, but also not permitting you to quit.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And it gets to this idea of tranquility. If the machine produces tranquility, it's right.
Mm-hmm.
So the motion of the body, or we can even think about the machine as like your workout plan for the month, like running that. You're the operator, and you run your push pull legs or whatever. Like, you're going 3 days. You're 3 days a week in the gym, and you do that 12 times a month. Like, that could be considered the machine, right?
Mm-hmm. Your workout plan.
Yeah, your workout plan can be the machine. You are the machine. Like, you're working on yourself, so you're the machine.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a neat analogy. It's a good metaphor. It's a really nice metaphor. It's not precise, otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
We'd be talking about the body exactly, and he'd be talking about the body, but it's a metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
And if the machine is not producing tranquility, then it's wrong. And if it is producing tranquility, it's right. And what is tranquility? It's like, I feel like after the workout, I'm not injured, right? Like, I feel energized to come back, and I want to progress, whatever that looks like. It could be in talent, it could be in performance, it could be in skill, it could be in just sticking to the plan. It could be gaining a base level of fitness because you've maybe been out of the gym for a decade, so you can go and do the sport you love and haven't been able to play for a while. So the machine might just be a means to an end of another machine. And I think that this is the real value of this first page, is that it's so many people go into the gym and they feel this disharmony and they have no peace and they have no tranquility. And the person on the other side says, too bad.
Yeah.
Grind through it. grit through it. It's this next sentence. If it disturbs you, it's wrong until either the machine or your own mind is changed, right? It's like most trainers on the other side, they look at you as the dysfunction, right?
Yeah.
Like there's nothing wrong with you as the person, as opposed to them constructing a machine which isn't producing the tranquility in the client. So you may be cowed by fear or by just like the pull of having put down money. But once those are gone after the first couple of weeks or months, that person's gone. And that person is far more, I would say, frequent in the fitness world than the one who sticks with it.
Yeah, and that kind of agrees. So the serenity is being at harmony with the machine, is what I think Pirsig is saying.
Yes.
So for your fitness plan, is the fitness plan at harmony with you? Are you at harmony with the fitness plan? And as Pirsig is saying, it's a relationship. It's not just a fitness plan. It's not just you. It's you in relationship with the plan. And that feeds into what I'm always saying, because I have a full life, right? I'm coaching on the side. I've got a 9 to 5. I've got a family. I've got 1,000 projects. I'm doing stuff. And I'm getting fit and I'm training for a backyard ultra. And what I always say about fitness, what I've discovered about fitness is fitness needs to fit my life that's already in motion. And that's what I think of in the serenity is this fitness plan fitting my life. Does it fit my capabilities now? Does it fit the time that I have? Does it fit with the responsibilities and the obligations that I already have in my life? And that disharmony is often, like you said, a coach hands you a program and says, execute the program. Everything else fits to that.
So there's two things that I want to say. Number one, that's bang on. And it sort of it sort of foreshadows a little bit of what Pirsig gets into on some of the next pages. And as somebody who is, I'll just give the example of what I'm looking at right now. I have an indoor bike trainer, right? Like I've got a Zwift, a Wahoo kicker that you can hook your bike up to, and then you hook it up to your computer, and it turns like your indoor stationary bike into like kind of like a video game, and you put your actual bike on it. I've had this thing sitting here for 18 months, and I have not put my bike on it one time. I looked down the first time I seriously went to go do it. I didn't know that I had to have a separate cassette. The cassette is just like the part, I can't even the gear. See, I can't even describe it. I'm so bad at this stuff, right? I recognize I had to buy a whole new cassette. I ordered it on Amazon, and it's still sitting in the package because I just prefer to take the bike outside. Like I just prefer to take the bike outside. I run into the immediate resistance of how this thing has to work. And it's like, nope, not going to do it. And the way Pirsig describes this, the person that looks at the technical manual and just is in so much frustration is because the technical manual suggests there's only one way to do it. There's only one way to do it. And if you're not getting it, you're never going to do it. And you should probably just quit, right?
No.
Or you've got to force your way through the one way and troubleshoot and grind. And, it's like there's those only two options. But what Pirsig says about the bicycle, and I think he's true about this, and you as a carpenter and someone who works with their hands and builds, this true. There's 1,000 ways to put that bicycle together. There's 1,000 ways. Just because the technical guide says here are the exact steps you have to follow, it doesn't like it. I just kind of realized that I think this is why people don't like the IKEA instructions, because they're just pictures. But those are actually really good because it doesn't tell you what to do. It's just like, here's how they fit. Figure it out yourself, right? And people look at those IKEA's instructions. They say, tell me what to do. And other people say, oh, I can see how it fits. So I think that there's the dissatisfaction with the machine, if the machine is the fitness plan, is that the fitness plan has to be one way and one way only. right? And that's
Yeah.
executed and grinded to and grinded through. So that's a great call out. And this leads to maybe a refinement of the machine idea. So is the machine the fitness plan? Actually not. The machine's my life. I'm working on my life. I'm working on me,
Mhm.
right? So then serenity and tranquility had nothing to do necessarily with the fitness plan, but with the overall flow and the harmony of my life, and where fitness can elevate all the other areas of my life as opposed to take away, which is what most people assume it will do.
Mhm.
If I haven't been working out in the gym and now I need to go 4 days a week, that's 4 hours I didn't have, or 4 hours I got to take away from something else I'm already doing. And I'm also going to be more tired. I'm going to be more sore. I'm not going to have energy to go do all these other things. So it becomes this, at least in the mindset of a lot of people, it becomes a drag.
Mhm.
And I think there again is where people fail in the consistency, is they're not, as you rightfully identified, they're not fitting it in with their life. So maybe it's a more holistic understanding of what this machine is when it comes to fitness, my routines, and how I want it to blend and harmonize with all the other things that I value in my life.
That's interesting. I think you're right. That's a very interesting point, and correct. Is we have to shift the idea of what is the machine, and to go from, well, the machine is the program, fitness program. No, the machine is my life. Because in order to, because that's where you need the harmony. That's where you need serenity. Is where the machine is. Whatever the machine is, you got to identify it correctly. Because if the machine you think is the fitness, then you're going to be working on all these fitness programs and changing your fitness program up. But that's not even the right machine. That's not the problem. That's not the thing you need harmony in.
Mm. Yeah, and I think that's this idea that of the mismatch between the person who comes to the trainer who wants to get in shape, and then the trainer who just looks at this as somebody who just needs to operate and execute and show a little bit of discipline and determination, as opposed to this the test of the machine's always your own mind.
Mhm.
Which, I finally figured out how to get this thing up on the screen here for those of us who are still on the Substack live. So this is the text that Ronald and I have been talking about here. And then it gets to that first part, like you're just likely to build your personal problems right into the machine itself.
Yep.
And if we're talking about life itself, myself is the machine. Well, what's the mind going to do? The mind is going to create a self-fulfilling prophecy of why it's not going to work, or how it's not going to be for me, or why I'll try but I won't succeed, and how that can be okay. And as somebody who, had a bunch of false starts trying to get their own fitness um, routines in place and consistent, and to that point where it's just seemingly automatic from the outside, and certainly it can feel like that sometimes on the inside. um, that idea of building your personal problems right into it, I mean, my gosh, like that's a really prescient point that Pirsig makes, and I think is I think emphasized quite a bit in people's struggles to finally gain that consistency over their fitness. Do you see it similarly?
Yeah. Self fulfilling prophecy is the exact words I had in my mind uh, in that whole thing. About the building of your problems into the machine, and we do. And it kind of like what often say too is whatever you don't heal in yourself is inherited by your children, and that I think is the same is true. I think that's true also with all of your life. Um, what's interesting is like I had a client who hired me as a fitness coach after he saw my results at Prairie on Fire last year. He's like he's my age, you know, late 40s, and he was like, I got to know the secret sauce. I need to know how you can do that, because particularly last year I started January of 25 unable to run because I was completely injured, and then I managed to rehab that and train myself to a massive PR of 42 miles by September. And so he's like, I need to know that. So he just hired me as a fitness coach, and that's cool. I can handle that. He wanted a fitness coach. Fine, hire me as a fitness coach, and I'll help you with your fitness. But it didn't stay there because it can't stay there because life happens and life impacts everything else. And and that's just how it is. You can't just think you're going to commit yourself. And I found this. I'm just going to commit myself to fitness and everything's going to work out fine. But life happens, and all the stuff you're not dealing with will become forced into the forefront in order for you to even stick with your fitness.
Yeah, I mean, I've experienced the exact same thing. I thought it was just going to be a fitness thing, and then it turned out to be far deeper. The ways in which you can open up people, and we both have ideas on why that is, and that's a discussion for a different day. But it really does get to this idea of in fitness, like we have to really think of what this machine is, and when we properly use the metaphor of the machine and we think about it as our life, and this actually connects to something we were talking about yesterday on social media over on X. One of the ways that fitness really helps you, we'll say, harmonize your life is it can give you the power to become a dispassionate observer of your own life, like an objective as observer. You're thinking, well, if the machine is life, and in here, Pirsig says the material object of observation, the bicycle or the rotisserie, can't be right or wrong. You think, well, how can my life not be right or wrong? How can I remove the moral element, the value element from my life? And it's not to say that you can, but you can pause for a second so that you can observe yourself. And we are both of the belief that physical exercise actually helps you become a dispassionate observer of yourself so that you can separate yourself from emotional reactions or patterns of behavior or patterns of thought that seem to be so deeply ingrained in you, right? That you just throw up your hands and say, well, that's how I am. That's how I'll always be. But fitness gives you the space. It gives you the capacity to form space, open up the possibility to observe yourself neutrally so that you can recognize something that you might be able to improve if only you had a little bit more control over it in the moment. So in that way, we can extend the metaphor of the machine is my life into what Pirsig says is, I think, a really true observation of just the material itself, or whatever material is, that the material just is. And I so often say this in my calls with my group and with my one-on-ones, like, and now I think we're talking about emotions and feelings here. It's like emotions and feelings, they're not bad and they're not good. They are. You're not in control of them. They come over you. If you were in control of them, we wouldn't call them feelings. We'd call them thoughts. And thoughts are not your own, and you're not in control of them, right? So, the things that we might consider to be negative, like anger or jealousy, right, or sadness, right? Like these things that we associate as negative, or maybe like on the other side, positivity, like happiness or joy or enthusiasm, right? These are not necessarily good or bad things. They just are. And then it's my perception or my posture or my application or my reaction to the things that will then determine the quality of those things, which I think should move us on to page 2 here to discuss. But that's a way I think we can start to extend this metaphor into a really powerful, I don't know, we'll call it a concept of understanding that can actually lead us to be able to act better when it comes to both, fitness consistency, striving within fitness, but then, crucially and most importantly, like, how do we actually take what we're doing in the fitness world with success and then model that out into other areas of our lives? So I'll bring up that second page and take that away there, Ron.
Yeah, well, it's amusing to me because that you used a line that I use independently, almost exactly the same. Feelings are neither right nor wrong. They just are.
Mm.
And then, so what are they? Well, they're indicators of something. So what are they indicating to you? Uh, anger often is because you don't know how to articulate something. You're frustrated that you don't know how to say what you need to say. Okay, so I'm angry. So if that's the indicator, then what is it that I need to say? And but it's not that the anger or the feeling is right or wrong. They just are, and that's important, I think, to understand. As far as I don't want to say control because we don't really have control necessarily, but as far as assessing what to do or your life. And the thing about fitness, it does impact your whole life. And the reason why is because we have really bought into the dualist model as a society, as though there's this kernel of who I really am, completely separated from this body or reality. It's just something that exists. That's who I really am, and everything, and this body, and what everyone sees me as. That's just something else, and it's a really hard dualistic model, and it's wrong, right? We need we need to switch our thinking to a more holistic approach because whatever we can say about a human being, we know of no human being who has existed without a body. Like even the Bible, right? There's no even the Bible. It says there's no such thing as a human being without a body. There's no human being before God created Adam out of the dust.
Out of the earth.
Yeah, out of the earth, and so whatever a human being is, they're embodied. They have a body, and you can't escape it. You can transcend it for a moment, but you can't escape it.
Mm.
And so it's important to see a holistic approach to yourself, to the human being, and not only in mind and body, which I think they are two separate things, but they're not wholly independent. Uh, but to get away from this idea that we can compartmentalize our life, because the saying I came up with long ago, I was probably 19 years old because my family's messed up and I was determined not to be. So I've been in the self improvement thing for over 30 years. Uh, no matter where you go, there you are.
Yeah.
There is a you that persists across all domains, whether it's work, whether it's your family life, whether it's fitness, whether it's whatever. There is one you that persists all across all domains. And so, whatever, and the point I'm getting to is all things are training, whether it's physical fitness or it's a habit. Every time you do something, iterate a behavior or a thought pattern, you're training yourself to continue to do that.
Yeah. I love that. And it speaks exactly to the text that's up on the screen right now. And I've often thought that the way to bridge, at least in the fitness world, the facts and the feel, right? And to give people authority and control over this machine, which we'll call the fitness plan, which we'll also recognize as life itself, um, that it's the artistry. It's artistry that can bridge the two, because art is that kind of that bridge, um, that melting pot where the objective and the subjective come together, and then communicated and presented through the individual who just through both their internal desire and their external talents and skills is able to make an expression that is at once theirs but also universal in the sense that other people can grab onto it and understand it and appreciate it itself. So how do you view that idea of the artist or the craftsman as, we'll say, like the and if I'm incorrect in turning it this way, then correct me. But we'll say as like the proper way to go about affecting this holistic view of fitness in my life so that I can actually stay in the gym. I can get better objectively, but I won't be run down or burned out by over time a lack of objective progress or of say like the numbers always having to go up. Like how is
Yeah.
this craftsman archetype, this artist archetype, maybe though the bridge in between these two dualist understandings?
Well, and it kind of goes back to my critique because I think this really applies to fitness, and I'm pretty certain this is something we have some basic agreement on in previous conversations. It's like you played in a punk band, but so punk is like the attitude, right? No rules. We're going to do our thing, smash some stuff, maybe. But even a punk musician needs to know how to play his instrument.
Yes. They need to know that the way that the punk attitude is this. I don't need to know how it works. I just need it to work the way I want it to work.
Yeah, which means you have to have some sort of mastery with the instrument.
Yes. Yeah. Unconventional mastery for
Yeah,
sure. It doesn't
and even
it doesn't
hmm?
help. Sorry, it doesn't hurt if you have technical ability. Just in the music sense, like somebody who I think has an interesting take on this is Trent Reznor, who's like, it's cool to be punk rock, but you can be even more punk rock when you know actually what scales are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can. And like the lot of the progenitors of punk were skilled musicians
yeah, yeah.
who decided to be punk, but uh, not all. There's exceptions. Like a lot of the jazz people, famous jazz people, started out as legit, serious musicians, and then started improvising. But
Yep.
some of them never learned a lick, and and had had the talent for it.
Hmm.
So this is a complicated thing, is what I'm saying there.
Agreed.
But I think for the most part, the thing for fitness that will help a person is, yes, a coach, because they have the mastery and they can transfer it to you through a program and through their coaching and shorten the time span that you have to do the mastery yourself. But there needs to be that relationship between the plan and your life to find that harmony. That disharmony is the key that it's not working. And you say stuff like that, and a lot of fitness people are like, well, you're just, you know, a sissy. You can't stick to it. But that's not what we're saying. If you think that, that's a you problem. Okay. But um, here's the thing: is I had to use some programs in order to learn fitness, but now I have my own. I built my own 15-week program for with training blocks and phases for Prairie on Fire Backyard Ultra. I'm not a slave to that program. It's a roadmap. It's a plan. It gives me structure and it helps me because it gives me something I can just execute and not think about for the most part. But if I decide I want to send a run extra hard, I'm going to send it.
Hmm.
I can do that, and I'm free to do that because I'm not a slave to the program. But the program helps.
Yeah. Quote, He isn't following any set of written instructions because the nature of the material at hand determines his thoughts and motions, which simultaneously change the nature of the material at hand.
And in fitness, the material at hand is your dialogue between your mind, spirit, and body.
Correct. Yeah, that's the essence. That's the essence. It's the test of you versus you, right? The test of the machine is always your mind, as Pirsig mentions. So the people who suggest like you're a sissy and you just need to grind through, it's like that could work for one fitness program, but it doesn't work for sustaining fitness programs throughout my entire life, right?
Yeah.
Because I will revolt. I'll revolt against the authority at some point, right?
Yeah.
The way I like to think about this and the way I communicate it to a lot of my clients, it's like, think about the best teacher you had, right? Like, or the best coach you had. And now think about the teacher or the coach you had that all they did was yell at you. They were the strict disciplinarian. They were the punisher. They were the bully. That bully, they can get results. Like,
oh yeah,
they can coach your football team to a state championship. Like, absolutely. Like that, just blind obedience, authority, structure, you can get results. But you know what also happens? The players resent the coach. They resent the player. They didn't give their best internally. They simply were cowed by fear into submission and obedience, which again can drive outcomes, but it doesn't result in the best outcomes, and it's not sustainable because you're planting the seeds for rebellion. And we all know that. So if you're just on the inside, taskmaster to yourself, forcing yourself through just unwavering discipline to do the thing that is creating disharmony in so many other areas of your life, you're going to rebel in one way or another.
Yep.
And this can be disastrous. So again, there are certain things that are good for driving short-term results, and then there are other things that are good for longevity, sustainability, harmony, and like a holistic experience, which balances things off against each other. And the way that most people experience and hope to experience their life is a harmony, is a balance, is a proper proportion of a few very valuable things that they hold together, so that when they are, say, like with their family, they're also improving perhaps like their ability to be better in business, and maybe also better as a coach. Like, we want to be creating positive feedback loops in our life where, the things that I care about and the things that I value, like they work together. They're not at competition with each other. And the machine, if I just subject myself to the we'll call it just the singular definition of the thing, or how to go and get the thing, well, I mean, that is the opposite of what a craftsman does. The craftsman, quote, "The craftsman isn't ever following a single line of instruction. He's making decisions as he goes along. For that reason, he'll be absorbed and attentive to what he's doing, even though he doesn't deliberately contrive this. His motions in the machine are in a kind of harmony," end quote. That's the kind of fitness that I believe in. Because I think that's the one that can help the most amount of people, right? If you want to try to live like an elite athlete, like the top 0.001% of performers, which is what we are told is sort of like the objective worth in the dualist understanding of sports. So like, what's the point of sports? It's to win and get better. Like, oh, okay. And I think that squeezes out this multiplicity of potential meanings and potential expressions and potential opportunities of people to have a much more holistic and well-rounded relationship with fitness, because we're not going to ever be elite athletes, 99.99% of us, and we cannot adopt the way that they go about it. They actually turn their machine is the body, and point of that machine is to be destroyed in pursuit of glory. Like,
Well, and also, I've been down the road of go hard and go harder and just go harder. I've done that. And guess what? I crashed. I was not consistent. It was up, then it was down, then it was up, then it was down. Then the bill finally came due, and I just freaking crashed because the bill always comes due. And but now, for instance, this year on my training program for Prairie on Fire, not only am I faster and fitter than I was last time at this year, way faster and way fitter than I was this time last year. I don't feel like garbage. I used to think that was a metric of whether I was working hard enough, and uh, and I think this is really in the fitness space something that needs to be dealt with, a question that needs to be dealt with. 90%, at least 90% of the people you're going to coach in fitness, they don't lack discipline. Their bills are getting paid. They have a job. They have a family. Those things may not be perfect, but they're doing it. They've got discipline. Why can they not apply it to fitness?
yeah,
That's the question that needs answered.
agreed. And like, I'd love to steer this towards, how people can begin to act on this stuff, because, ideas are cool and
Yeah.
conversations, ideas are cool, but, a philosophy that cannot be lived out towards a better life is not a philosophy worth bothering
No.
with. In my estimation, we have to be able to embody this stuff.
Yes.
Um, so how would you advise somebody to think about their fitness and give them the courage, and maybe like tell them what the first kind of one or two steps along this type of holistic fitness path that we're outlining here from these two little book snippets?
Well, my general plan, like this is for someone who is sedentary and they are not doing anything, right? So my general suggestion is start with a 20-minute walk a day. Do that. Is it more than you're doing now? Great. Start small, win big. That's one of my things. And do that for a time, however, 2, 3, 4 weeks until it becomes routine. Get it locked down. It's something you just do. And then you take that space of 20 minutes that you've built into your life with a walk and you add a workout to it. You swap one of them out for a workout. Because what you're really doing in those 20-minute walks is you're getting movement, but you're building 20-minute space into your life. And that's, I think, the way you do it. You start small, you win big. Whatever's more than you're doing now, do that. Be satisfied with that. Like I got into serious fitness by doing a shoulder workout twice a week. It wasn't even a full program, just shoulder workout. And I did that for like 5 weeks. It was more than I was doing. And whenever in 5 weeks I had that locked down, so I added one more. And not only did that work for me and become sustainable, develop into a sustainable fitness habit, I also learned that the body can heal miraculously because I had shoulder problems that I had carried around for 20 years and told myself that's just how it is. And 90% of them were gone. So exploration. You got to figure out what fits your life. You need to fit your life. Yes, you need to change your life if you want to change your life, but you got to figure out what fits your life. So start small. Do something more than you're doing now. Something like a 20-minute walk a day. Then you're building 20 minutes of space into your day. Then you stack another habit on top of that. Swap out 20 minutes of walking for 20 minutes of push-ups and air squats.
Yeah, that's great advice. And the thing that I'd add on to it, with relation to this idea of the artist or the idea of the craftsman, it's
Hmm.
that whole redefinition of what exercise means and what it can look like. Like the idea that 20 minutes is enough to count as exercise, most people don't even believe that. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it.
I didn't either.
Yeah, no, like. it took, and here's how I became a believer in it. This was like 12 years ago when the biggest thing in fitness was HIIT workouts, high intensity interval training. And there were
Mhm.
studies coming out that basically were suggesting, hey, if you just go hard for 20 minutes, you're going to end up burning the same amount of calories as if you go kind of like medium and, light to medium intensity over 60 minutes. And I thought, hey, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
So you telling me that 20 minutes is actually 60 minutes and the only thing that determines that is my intention? Oh, it's like I'm in control of that. That I can do. And so for me, and I think this is also what you're mentioning, is the first thing to do is like redefine the machine when it comes to what people expect exercise has to be.
Mhm.
And it gives them this, I like to give them this artistic license to then, so for the sedentary person, yes, but a lot of the people that come to me are people who were athletes or have an athletic past, but they don't necessarily have the space right now to actualize it or realize it, or they've fallen out for some reason.
Mhm.
Um, so the thing that I like to do with this similar small wins stack approach, it's identify what's the thing you like, what's the thing you enjoy. Talk to me about the ways you feel good when you move your body in this like intensive intentional way, and that is going to spark this artistic idea of expression, right? And it's going to kind of bypass a little bit of that novice um that novice position where you don't necessarily know what you're doing.
Mhm.
um, and then it allows the person to start crafting and creating something for themselves right off the bat, which is what I'm trying to affect with the people that I coach. Is I'm trying to turn them into like these athletic artists who use athleticism and the athletic pursuit and the athletic lifestyle as a genuine expression of self, of authentic self, just like somebody who sculpts or paints or writes or plays an instrument is expressing themselves through a deep dedication to the craft and the love of the craft and the love of producing the craft as a way to both know and then express themselves, right? And that is this, once that gets turned on, that's this powerful addiction to what I would consider then the proper machine of fitness, which is your life. Because if fitness then becomes an actual and authentic self-expression, well, then it necessarily starts to click in with all the other things in my life. I don't even, it's like what Pirsig says here. It's he doesn't even need to deliberately contrive this. It just sort of happens in the wake of the action. So it's really all about like what can you do in the first 2 to 3 months to gain a sense of confidence, a sense of ownership, and a love of whatever this machine now is for you, and how you can be the one who tinkers on it yourself. Um, and sometimes that looks like me guiding somebody for 6 months and sending them off on their way because they are really on their own. Sometimes that process takes a little bit longer.
Mhm.
And sometimes the process doesn't end because the person on the other side recognizes, oh, you just helped me create the best system for myself consistently. But that's the ultimate goal then, is to allow people to have this control over the way in which they operate the machine, which I think is one thing that people lack in the fitness space, where they're told to be at the mercy of plans or what
Mhm.
the trainer puts on their plan, and not enough trainers are flexible enough to recognize, it's not the plan that they need to be working on. It's the exactly what you said. It's the discipline to keep showing up
Yeah.
in, in this arena.
Yeah. And that's great because what you need, and we understand this a lot with skills, right? Whenever you
Yep.
start a new skill, you're going to suck at it.
Yep.
You're going to fail. Fine. That's part of learning. So grace, you have to have grace with yourself, with failure, but also not so much, not allowance to fail. So there's a balance between grace and discipline. And what you need when you're starting out is the grace to explore without quitting. It's like whenever I started doing those two shoulder workouts, I sat with that question of whether I was going to work out for a while. I'd wake up every morning and I'd ask myself, is today the day I start? And there were several mornings where I said no, but I kept asking myself the question. And then eventually the question returned to, or turned into, well, if not today, when? And I still didn't say yes. I sat with that question for a little bit longer. And eventually one day I woke up and I said, is today the day? And I said, yes, today is the day. And it wasn't just perfect from there, but I held on to the question regardless of what the answer was, whether I failed or I said no. I just didn't let go of it. And so you need an exploration phase. You need to give yourself the grace to explore, to fail, to try again. All consistency is reiterating. It's not perfection.
Yeah. And this is where the value of a coach really pays off big time, because this is the space where internal doubts and those old thought patterns, they just come up strong. There's like a hard,
Hmm.
it's like a full court press against you deciding to change. And it's from you on the inside. And the
Hmm.
coach can help you re-examine, get a different perspective, breathe a little bit of life and encouragement, provide the open space for grace and compassion, but then also hold firm to a standard, and to make you accountable. And the best coaches are often like that gentle but stern parent figure, right? The one who
Yeah.
does it in love, doesn't necessarily want to have to do the hard thing of doing the discipline, but recognizes without it they're not doing the right job. But it can't be all discipline all the time. Otherwise, again, you sow the seeds for rebellion, and then they're not listening to you, and all these things.
But I think what essentially we're getting at with this concept, how to apply it, is you got to let go of definitions. Something I was contemplating for myself recently was so and so put out a post and they're like, any fit and healthy person should be able to run this pace of my this pace for a mile. And I was like, well, I can't really do that. Or I could do it like 1 mile max effort. Am I fit? I don't know. I'm better than I was. And then I was like, you know what? I don't care. I'll just keep working and being better than I have been. The objective measurement, yeah, that can help motivate or orient your training, but ultimately I'm concerned with, am I getting better than I was? And that the great thing about fitness in general is there are objective standards. You always say the truth is in the training. Either you can run that distance or you can't. Either you can lift that weight or you can't. And either you've done the training to do it or you haven't.
Mm.
And so that's what's so great about fitness and self improvement is most self improvement is too vague and undefined to really measure. But fitness you can measure. So you can actually see self improvement, which is what makes it so helpful for the metric for self improvement in general.
Yeah, and then like to kind of start to close this guy up, it's
Yeah.
like, do you totally ignore the numbers? What allows you, and just in this case, to say, here's the way I'm going to look at the numbers and evaluate them versus the way another person looks at it and evaluates it? Who's right and who's wrong? It's like, well, in your case, thinking about the numbers in one particular way produces like it robs you of that tranquility. So then the machine breaks down and doesn't work. For somebody else, they might look at that objective measure and say, oh no, I like that. That actually moves me and motivates me. That actually produces the tranquility. So there's no one, it has to be this way or it has to be that way. I'm sure there's times where you look at a particular objective measure and you're like, that's the one I got to meet. And that produces the tranquility within your whole machine. But then other times you're like, the numbers aren't working for me right now, and I'm going to toss them in the trash bin for a minute. And then when I need them again, I'll go pick them up. So
Well,
oh yeah,
and that happened exactly this morning. Like this morning, I've got my training program. I've got metrics I'm supposed to meet. I do that. This morning was an easy run. So I've had a lot of improvement lately. I need to figure out what is an easy run for me, not what I want it to be. What is an easy run? So I just ran. I didn't pay attention to my pace metric. I ran by feel, and then casually would glance at my heart rate. And then voila, I found out my actual easy run is that I can sustain pretty much all day is 11:30 to 12 minutes. I would like it to be faster than that. If I was actually trying to measure it, go out and measure it, I would have been pushing myself harder. And oh yeah, I can do a easy 11-minute mile, but not really because I'm holding myself to the metric. I'm wanting to hit the number. I needed to go out and just push the pace out of my mind, connect with my body, make sure my heart rate wasn't out of whack, and figure it out because I needed to remove the metric in that instance to know something important.
Yep. Yeah.
But whenever I'm doing my speed work, I need the metric to know if I'm getting faster or if I'm going fast enough.
Yeah. Bit of mayhem going on in my house. You had the birds. I have children running around. So that's good. So then really like the final takeaway that I think we want to impress upon people, it's the ability to make it completely your own.
You have permission.
You have permission. You have permission to rewrite definitions. You have permission to, one of the quotes that's kind of always around in my mind now is from Martin St. Louis, who's the head coach of the Montreal Canadiens right there. Coach philosopher extraordinaire. Even if you don't like hockey, you should be a big fan of Martin St. Louis. Let me just give a little Marty St. Louis plug. Only player in hockey history to not get drafted into the big leagues. He didn't get drafted in the NHL, but he got inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Wow.
And he's a small little dude. He's not some big guy. It's not like he did it because he was big. He did it because he's a small guy. And he is like, he was coaching his son's peewee hockey team, and then he became the head coach of the Montreal Canadiens, like the most storied hockey team in the entire history of the world.
I already love him.
Yeah, he's you should just do like a YouTube Marty St. Louis press conferences, and you'll be like, oh, I love this guy because he like waxes poetically and philosophically on these questions that these journalists give him. He's great. But one of the things he was saying in this playoff run, they just went on a good deep playoff run. He's got a young team. And he gets asked about, one of the younger players, they had a really bad game too. Like they made a pretty lazy play that cost the team basically the game in overtime, a couple lazy plays together. And he said, this thing that I love, he's like, if you don't like the story that's being written about you, rewrite the story. You have the power to rewrite the story. And we always have that power to redefine ourselves, to redefine the things that make meaning and can provide value in our lives. If the machine is not producing tranquility, it's the wrong machine, right? So fix the machine or fix your mindset towards the machine and have faith that there is like a coming together of the things. So if the machine is fitness, and right now fitness is elusive, I can't grab onto it. It's not making sense to me. I can't fit it in. I don't know how to value it. Re-examine what fitness means to you. What does it look like? What are you telling yourself fitness has to be? And then give yourself permission to start very small and move your body in an intentional way and just build up on your own something that can be sustainable just the way you would any different skill that you're learning, no matter what it is. And when you're able to put yourself in that mindset, the actions, they become a little bit more clear, and the discipline that you've been lacking doesn't seem as hard to achieve. And I think, just a couple of things that Ron said about how to get going in fitness, I think is really good and actionable, and somebody can take the first couple steps on literally like today, right now.
Yeah.
You've actually done it in the conversation. But like there's the dual, I got to flip my mindset so that I can flip where I'm looking at, which is then going to change the position of my feet, and then I can walk. So it's like both of those. So permission to expand the definition, and then you have to just get courageous in taking the very first step or two. And that's the kind of thing that Ron and I are very good at, both of us, is helping you shift your perspective, but then also giving you the tools to actually do the first couple steps, and then letting you basically go off on your own and create the dang thing for yourself.
And yeah, and whatever comes up, we can adapt to you, not you to the programming. Every program I give a client is hand built, like personally built for them. What can you fit in your life? What do you have? What is your goal? I don't hand them a generic program and say, there you go, run it.
Exactly right. Because it's about coaching the person. It's not about coaching the plan.
Amen.
Amen. Even if you are the machine, you're not a machine.
Yep.
Oh, very cool. All right.
But also, I do want to. You mentioned it just now. We kind of didn't really bring it in. It's not just changing the machine. You can approach it through changing your mind as well.
Yeah. I don't think you can do it with just one or the other.
I think it's back to relationship, machine and mind.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But the thing is, people just don't even know that there's the relationship, and that these things are in effectively a symbiosis with each other. And that's where the artist and the craftsman idea comes in, to sort of allow these two things to happen. Well, many more conversations about this in the future. As I say, I never promise conclusions. I promise more questions, and I promise something that you can do to actually move the needle forward, which I think we delivered on today. So, Ron, thank you so much for your time, for your attention, for your wisdom, for your examples, and for your openness to share and to have the conversation that I just kind of sprung on you in the last 2 days. Really appreciate it. We'll get this guy up for everybody to listen to. I think I will turn this into a pod. I don't know when I'll get it up, hopefully over the weekend.
Yeah.
I'll put Ron's contact information in the show notes. So if you want to get in contact with him or just follow along with what he's doing and building on places like Substack and on other social media, you'll be able to do that, or get in contact with him directly about his coaching. The one big thing that does differentiate my coaching from Ron's coaching is he has a specific Christian bent on his coaching, where he likes to communicate specifically about the Christian spiritual elements of fitness, and how this can help with your walk with God and walk with Jesus and all that stuff. Which I sometimes do that, but I'm much more of a universalist in terms of how we can spiritually apply physical activity in our lives. But we're basically the same. But if you're like really love going to church, then you're gonna really love Ron. I'll just say that that's where he is more particularly aimed, even though we both are basically just agreeing with each other in this entire conversation.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Peace and love. We'll talk soon. Appreciate you.